Can you hear me like that?
Yeah. What?
So, is it better now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you now.
So our speaker for today, actually being responsible for the speakers, I took the time last week and called everybody that was on the list, and I found a brave one that was ready to take the challenge and do it in a few days notice. And I had the pleasure of meeting our speaker last night together with his beautiful wife, and it was an awesome meeting. He's an amazing guy, and I think that he's definitely the right person to talk about adversity advantage. So when you think about adversity, when you think about rich people or successful people versus unsuccessful people, sometimes we think that probably successful people are lucky, or they probably don't deal with the same challenges that we do, but it's not true. The main difference is how they look at advantages and how they motivate themselves to grow out of it and become stronger and more successful. So in October 2006, our speaker Kevin Metcalf, a 20-year veteran of the San Jose Police Department, underwent an experience that would forever change his life. He lost his mother, and he lost his beloved K-9 partner. And it was only 2 weeks, the two horrible losses happened 2 weeks, within 2 weeks. So it's definitely a devastating experience, but he only became stronger and more, inspiring. And what you're going to hear today is definitely something you want to take good notes. So with that, and I will let Kevin share with you about himself as well. Please help me bring Kevin here to the stage, and I'm very, very excited about his presentation.
Yeah.
Testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. How are you guys doing this afternoon? Good morning. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you. I know that we're all here because we want to make a change in how we're living and make a similar change for other people. So hopefully some of the things that I'll talk about will give you some things to think about and help you with. As Ayelet said, I've been a police officer with the city of San Jose for 27 years now. I'm still currently a police officer there. And we'll be retiring soon, thankfully. But what I have found was, over the years, no matter what problems people were having, whether it was sort of a life and death situation, or whether it was just people not getting along with each other, you kind of would see recurring similarities in each of those scenarios. So I began to kind of just study those and what those were. And what was the difference between those people who continually seem to need the services of the police department and those people who seem to never call? It's the same thing with people who are very, very successful. Whether you define success as a lot of money, being famous, or maybe just living life in a very peaceful manner with nothing at all. What I found is that people who are successful in life have the exact same adversities that everybody does, but their relationship with their adversity and how they think about it is different than what most people do. And because of the way they think of adversity, it gives them an advantage in life. An advantage that, if we could understand that, we could have that same advantage and have those same successes. Now, when I first came here a few weeks ago, I shared my passion, and it was comic books. I'm a nerd from the 70s, all right? I love Star Trek, Spider-Man, all of that stuff. My wife, my sweet, lovely wife back there, she goes to, what is that? I don't know, what's the store?
Comic-Con?
What store we get all the t-shirts from? There's an Old Navy. They've got all these superhero shirts. I got all of them, and I wear them anytime I can wear them. Right? I'm almost 50 years old. But I just saw this movie. Did anybody see Star Trek, the last one? Oh my gosh, listen. Best movie ever. All right? Best movie ever. And I'm at the edge of my seat, my poor wife, okay? I'm sitting there like a kid bouncing up and down, and she's worried about the people around me that I disturb. It was so crazy. And the reason why is because they get in these nutty circumstances, you're like, they're never going to get out of it. There's no way Captain Kirk can survive this. Right? And sure enough, at the end, everything comes out well. And you knew it before the movie started that it was going to work out. But still, you're like, how is this going to turn out? But whether you're a science fiction fan or whether it's drama, whatever, or sports, we love the uncertainty of life. As humans, we're drawn to that. That's our spirit. That's why the story of the Iliad was so important hundreds of years ago by Homer. We tell stories of doing things, taking risks, going through adversity. That's our spirit. But unfortunately, in a civilized society, what do we want to find? Security. Go to school, get a good job, be secure. We want to know how much money we're going to make. We want to know how long we're going to make that money. We want our lives to be exactly the same. We don't want any changes. Menopause, midlife crises. We don't want any of that stuff. It's all uncertainty, and we hate that. But if we learn how to deal with that in a different way, we can change not only our lives, and people always criticize me when I start out with this because, you know, Kev, movies and comic books are great, but those are just stories. We're living real life. That doesn't apply. And I disagree. See, everybody here is living a story. Your life is a story. You're the director, you're the producer, you're the actor, and you're writing it at this very moment. And how you deal with the adversity that comes in your life will determine what the end of that story is. Whether it's going to be an exciting, epic event that everybody wants to know, or whether it was just kind of something mundane or that everything, you know, people always do that. Didn't take any risks, you know, lived an okay life. And listen, either one, not one isn't better than the other. But the fact is that you have the power to create whatever story you want to create. So in just the time that we have, I just want to talk about a few of the concepts that I learned that make people successful. And the first one is knowing your position of power. Knowing where you have power in any circumstance. Let me give you an example. A couple of months ago, I work a day shift out here in San Jose. And we get a call kind of in the afternoon, which we hate because that means we're going to be here overtime. But anyway, we get a call and a woman screaming because the guy who assaulted her last night is back at her house. Okay? So the radio's giving the call over the air, and sure enough, they go back, and last night officers were out there, and they arrested the guy for assault with a deadly weapon on this woman. She had to go to the hospital, and he's there now. So we roll out there, lights and sirens, we're going code 3, and we get there. Guy's sitting out in the front yard. We got, you know, we make sure the scene's safe. We put him into custody. There's 4 other people there. We separate all the parties. The scene is safe, so we start finding out what happened. So we talk to the gentleman who's our current suspect. And I says, what happened? He goes, well, I just got out of jail, and I'm just coming home. I live here. I go, okay, all right, that's part of the story. So I go to the woman who called, our victim. I said, what's the matter? Why did you call us? Oh, he hit me over the head with a crutch last night. I was bleeding. I had to go to the hospital, and now he's back again. I'm scared for my life. Okay, that's what's going on over there. Why don't you go inside and we'll talk to him here in a minute. Okay, she goes inside. Her boyfriend is out there, and another young lady who's actually has a cast, and she's on crutches. This is the girlfriend of the suspect. So I go back to the suspect and says, why did you hit the woman over the head with the crutch? Well, she was fighting with my girlfriend's injured, and I wanted to protect her. I go, okay. So the boyfriend of the girl, the victim who called, I said, well, why did this all happen? She didn't do anything wrong. He just came over and hit her on the head with a club. All right. And I said, you sure she didn't do anything wrong? She didn't do nothing wrong. He just came over. So I said, she was sitting on the couch with a remote control, and he just came over and hit her. No, that's not what happened. Oh, okay, so she was in her room reading a book. And the guy came in the room and just hit her. No. What? So then, why did she get on bed? Well, he was fighting with her girlfriend, and then he came over and hit her on bed. I said, okay, but that's no reason to hit her. And I go, you're right. But just so you know, and this is for everybody, this is just a tip that I like to give. There are certain activities that you can involve yourself in that will greatly reduce the chances of you getting hit on the head with a crutch. He should not have hit you on the head, but there's something you could have done. See, that's the position of power. Whenever something happens to you, you get a bad boss, you get a bad review, you get in an accident, always go back and look for what could I have done differently that could have avoided this circumstance. See, unfortunately in our society, we promote victim status. Everybody wants to be the victim, right? I didn't do anything wrong, it's not my fault, I did what I was supposed to do, it was my boss that was bad. Anytime you say it's somebody else's fault, you've lost your power. Because if your boss is the bad guy, and he's your problem, guess what? He's also your solution. And if he doesn't think he's a problem, you will always have that problem. I went to another networking group a few weeks ago, and they were going to have a guy come in and talk about how to, if you have a bad boss, what you should do. And I thought, do you need a class for this? Really? Because I'll bet you what, if you have a problem with your boss, if you were the hardest worker, you wouldn't have a problem. If you stayed extra, he would love you. If you did the best job of everybody there, you would never have a problem with your boss. And if you did have a problem with your boss, they'd fire your boss and get somebody who liked you because they want to keep you. Find your position of power. Some people like to complain that whatever company that they started their business with, their products are bad, or their comp plan is bad, or their services work for them, they're not me. So it's not my fault. Always, always, always look for the position of power. The same ability that that God used to create the planet, He gives us to shape our own lives. It's the power of choice. And choice always lies with responsibility. And if you're not responsible, you got no power. That's the first one. The second one is focus. See, when people who are successful have adversity, they change their focus. I'm going to give you an example. Years ago, I was a part of this biking program. They said, we're going to have officers riding bikes downtown in parks. I'm like, I'd like to ride a bike, why not? Right? But before you can ride your bike, you have to take a training course. Now, I'm a grown man. You don't have to train me how to ride a bike. I know how to ride a bike. You get on and you ride. Now, if you want to be a part of the unit, you got to ride it. All right, so I'll take the class, whatever. So there's about 50 of us out there. We got our bike shorts on and the tank tops, and there's this little course set up that we got to ride through, right? And they've got these tight little turns that it's almost impossible to get through. And we're trying, and we're falling down, and we're getting all scraped up, and we're like, hey, this is crazy. What are you trying to do, set us up? The instructor says, it's easy if you know how to do it. I'm like, yeah, right. So we go the half a day, not doing it right. Finally, the instructor gets up and goes, let me show you what to do. And he just glides right through it like it was nothing. So I says, what's the trick? He goes, wherever you're focused on, that's where you're going to go. If you're focused on that little corner and that cone, your mind and your body will be drawn towards it and you're going to fall. So what you need to do is as you approach that obstacle, you have to look to where you want to go. And if you're looking to where you want to go, your body will automatically navigate that obstacle and you're going to go to wherever you want to go. Now, I don't believe him, because this is crazy. I mean, I'm a grown man. You're just better at it than I am. He goes, Kev, just try it. And sure enough, you get up to the obstacle, he goes, look away, look away, look away. And he goes, look away, and I look away, and I'm through it before I even know it. Successful people do the exact same thing. They don't focus on what their problems are. They focus on what their solution's going to be. See, when something bad happens for a businessman or somebody who understands how to navigate through life, they don't tell you what's going wrong. Do you ever find people who define themselves by the bad thing that happened to them?
Yes.
I got fired by this company, my boss was a horrible guy, and if he was a better guy, they're just focused on what went wrong. I got challenged to write a book. I don't know anything about writing a book. I'm a knucklehead, believe me. People are going, yeah, I knew that when you walked up there. Don't convince me, I already know that. I'm not that smart. So they said, go. She says, you need to write a book. This is my business coach. I said, all right, what am I going to do? So she put me on a plan. So I make this schedule. I'm trying to write it. It's difficult. I'm behind. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. And I'm telling myself I'm never going to do it, right? Negative thinking. It drags you down, that negative energy. So she goes, draw a visual aid, a graph that'll show you what your progress is. So I tried it, and I got crayon and paper to try, and I couldn't do it. So my lovely wife, she got on Excel and gave me a nice graph. And what I found out was, while I was off, I wasn't that far off. And I had a long ways to go. So when I focused on what was good, suddenly I felt great about it. I'm writing everything, and it still isn't worth reading, but I got moving, which was great. See, for successful people, because of their focus, they're thrown into action when other people are hiding. How many times have you had to call somebody, that big, person, oh man, I'm afraid of it, and you've put it off time and time again because you didn't know what they were going to say? See, successful people go, I'm jumping right in it. I'm Captain Kirk. I want to go where the danger is, right? And the great thing about it is, they also don't know whether it's going to work, but that's what they love about it. See, they're not looking for a guarantee that everything's going to be okay. They just want the fight. They want the challenge. When you see people who've made a lot of money, you go, why would they make, they've got a ton of money. Why are they going to, it's not even about the money anymore. It's about the challenge. It's about the fight. That's where they love. They're focused on something far beyond what they're currently doing. It's your focus. And the last part is this: time and trials. Many people who are in certain companies that have their events, and somebody's always getting the best sales. It's the same person every day. They're always doing everything great. You're like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get it going like that? I used to be, one of the things I used to do was, they would give you this emergency training. Every couple of years, you had to go to this place over in Fremont. They got the CHP had this big area where they would lay out a track, and you have to go for emergency driver training, so you're certified and everything. So they take a whole bunch of guys up there, and gals. I say guys all the time. That's so bad. Forgive me for that. That's my head. But we would all go up there, and we would learn to drive. First part of the day, they would do this classroom where they teach you apex and feathering the pedals and hitting the high point of the turn and all these things that help you drive at a high speed and stay in control. So we're taking classes and we're taking notes, and then the second day we actually go out to the track, and they set out this about half a mile, quarter-mile track of cones and turns and things that would simulate things that you would handle to get out in the field if you were actually driving. So what they did was they allowed us to chase each other. Sometimes you'd be you'd be the police officer chasing, sometimes you'd be the bad guy, and you go around the track, and the cones that were set up, they're actually people, and if you ran into the cone, you'd kill people, so you didn't want to do that either. And we're, having fun, and I was doing very, very well. I was catching people, and nobody could catch me, and I'm talking smack, I'm talking smack, look at you, I don't see you, right? The whole day. So at the end of the course, the instructors come out, and they go, okay, we're going to have you see if you can keep up, you can deal with the instructors. And guess who got picked? Right? And I'm like, I can do this. The guy's old, right? And nothing wrong with old, but I'm like, I'm a young guy, I can beat him, right? Don't young people always think they can beat the old people? He's got a coffee cup with a cigarette, they walk around, right? I can beat that guy. So they put us on the starting line. And the whistle goes off, and I take off. And as I look in my rearview mirror, I notice the instructor is just getting into the car, and he's getting in on the wrong side of the car. I'm like, what's this guy? I'm like, well, whatever. So I'm hitting the turns, and I come up to the first set of turns, and I'm going, okay, apex, I'm keeping my speed rate, I don't want to kill anybody. And as I start to turn that turn, I look back to see where he is.